Hello, this is the Lord's Legion yet again with a brand new countdown. Today's going to be the top 10 supervillain costumes in films. Now, I did a superhero costumes video a few months back, so you can check that out if you want. And before we get started, I want to do a quick few honourable mentions. First up, we have Two-Face from The Dark Knight. The effects from the half of his face look very great and accurate. However, he's not in the list, mainly because that's all he has going for. Next we have Ultron from Age of Ultron. Now, I love how his design looks reminiscent to the original, but at the same time has his own flavour. However, the problem is he's not in an outfit, so that's why he's not on the list. Flames shields up. I like Bullseye's design from Daredevil. However, the problem is it looks very outdated in today's standards, so that's why I'm leaving them out of this list in particular. Up next we have the Shredder. Now, I honestly really like the basic design, however the problem is, like with Bullseye, it looks very outdated in today's standards, but for its time it looked relatively great. And the most recent of all, we have Crossbones from Civil War. I really like his design and how unique it is. However, the problem is there can only be 10 costumes onto this list. So let's get onto the list. Starting up, we have Electro from The Amazing Spider-Man 2, in particular his hooded design. To be honest, I really find his other suit rather campy, however with this one we can get the sense of tragedy within the character. And I also really love his skin and how veiny it looks, as well as it being very glowy, and I especially really love his eyes because it's very glow in the dark and it looks quite menacing. Whenever I see this character for the first time, I can just instantly see that this is meant to be the ultimate version of Electro, so this is why I'm giving this costume some points, which is more than a good enough reason why he is at number 10 onto the list. For number 9, I decided to pick Doctor Doom from the 2005's version of the Fantastic Four. I mean, sure, it does look a bit goofy at certain areas, but for the most part, at least I can tell that this is meant to be Doctor Doom. His mask is pretty on point. I like the colour palette of the actual suit, and I especially really like how they kept most of the actual costume pretty accurate. This may not be the perfect representation of Doctor Doom, but as of now, this is probably the most accurate and best version of Doctor Doom from the films as of far, in terms of costumes at the very least. For number 8, we have the Winter Soldier from, you guessed it, Captain America, the Winter Soldier. I honestly really like how accurate this costume has turned out to be. I love the metal arm, I love his traditional costume, and I really like his weaponry, and I especially love the mask and makeup he wears in order to hide his identity. I like how they got rid of the original mask from the comics and instead replaced it with some makeup for his eyes, as well as giving him more of a ski mask. It makes him look all the more relatable and more grounded to real life, which is why I put the Winter Soldier as number 8. Next we have the most different suit onto the list, and that is Bane from The Dark Knight Rises. And in this case, this is a good choice, because if we had the original Bane from the comics, then of course he's gonna look a bit goofy, isn't he? Just putting out there, his mask has become so iconic at this point that everyone just notices it more than the comic version. And I also really love his trench coat because it just screams how menacing he is. And to top it all off, his heavy vest is very great, and I honestly really love this take of Bane in terms of his outfit. And here's another wild card. Number 6, we have the Mandarin from Iron Man 3. And I know some of you in the comments are gonna say, oh, this doesn't count, but guess what? I'm basing it on how the costume looks and how the villain is represented throughout the costume. So I'm putting them on the list, and it's my list, so I can do what I want. So why is this costume on the list? Well, I just simply love the full costume, mainly because it looks accurate to the original, but at the same time it doesn't go over the top Chinese culture to the point where it's almost a racist stereotype. And I also love how it has some terrorist elements into it as well, which really makes him all the more grounded and more relatable in a sense. To me, this is the perfect representation of how a terrorist would look like within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and to be honest, it gives him more of a reason to be this high on the list. Coming in at number 5, we have the Red Skull from Captain America: The First Avenger. This costume to me just perfectly shows that you could literally go accurate to the comics and already it can just fit into complete perfection. His outfit alone is very great, however what really shines is of course his red skull, because the prosthetics and the makeup just looks very accurate and it doesn't look goofy at all in my eyes. It's bright, but at the same time it literally just shows that he means business, and this is why I'm rating this high. Next up we have the oldest suit onto the list, and that is Catwoman from Batman Returns. What can I say that hasn't been said already? It's very iconic and I really love how it looks. It looks very slick, and I really love the stitches from around the suit. It just adds to how great it looks in my eyes. And especially in motion, it really makes Catwoman look all the more sexy whenever she just does her flips, jumps, or even kicks some criminals' asses. And let's not forget that this is probably the most accurate Catwoman suit we've ever got in live action, and already I love the suit so much I have to put it at number 4 on my list. For number 3 we have Loki, specifically from the Avengers. To me this is the best Loki suit out of all the films that he's in thus far, mainly because he looks quite accurate to the comics but at the same time very grounded to the point that he could fit into the MCU. And to me, this costume just perfectly captures what a comic book movie villain costume should really be like in my eyes. And for these reasons and much more, this is why Loki, from the Avengers in particular, takes the number 3 spot onto my list. For our runner-up, we have the Joker from The Dark Knight. Again, do I really need to say anything at this point? This is easily and hands down the most scariest and most badass looking Joker we have ever got on film. His makeup just looks frightening and it can just haunt your dreams. And of course his suit looks very accurate to the comics, however with a twist in that it looks all the more scruffy and more grounded. For these reasons and more, this is why the Joker from The Dark Knight takes the number 2 spot onto our list. But who could top that, you may ask? Well, let's find out. And for our number 1 we have the most underappreciated costume for villains in film, and that is of course Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2. And why do I love it so much? Mainly because it looks grounded but at the same time quite accurate to the original character, and of course his tentacles just look so badass. And of course his brown and long trench coat just makes him look even more menacing and serious of a character, which is why I like to put Dr. Octopus as my number 1 favourite comic book villain costumes of all time, or at the very least in my opinion. So what is your favourite supervillain costumes in films? Well, comment below, and if you liked this video I suggest you give it a like. Thank you all for watching and have a good one guys, take care.